Welcome into Morning Invest on this Monday, February 21st. We are going to go live to Canada, to Ottawa, the very latest there on what's happening with the Canadian police using force over the weekend, making a number of arrests, and wait until you hear what the Ottawa mayor is saying this morning about all those trucks that they stole. You won't believe this story. And also on the show today, lots of talk about World War III. This could be the largest war, the deadliest war that Europe has ever faced if Russia invades Ukraine. Biden administration continues to beat the war drum, saying that, in fact, yes, this is going to happen. But meanwhile, the press in Europe and the press in Russia are saying, no, don't believe this. This is garbage. So we'll get to the bottom of all of that. And we're going to look at the U.S. housing crisis. We got some really troubling data out this morning about the U.S. housing crisis. And what is unfolding there. We're going to bring the very latest on the U.S. housing crisis, new details about rent prices, all of that and more as Morning Invest starts right now. Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the show. Natalie's off today, dealing with another sick child in the family. This is what happens in the winter. This is what happens with 3 kids. So you got to suffer with me alone today. And David's in the control booth today with a migraine. So he's got no camera on, no lights. It's like we're screaming.
Yeah, I like to be in the dark when I have a migraine because light. It's really sensitive to light and the smell of food.
Now I can hear you really loudly. Now you're coming through now I hear what the
yeah. I had to lean in because there's a diesel truck that starts up in the morning. Can you hear it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can hear it.
So I had to lean in so you couldn't hear that.
Okay, I got you. All right, I thought something happened to my mic. All right, let's start with Canada this morning, shall we? Let's go up to Ottawa and bring you an update there because Canadian police using pepper spray overnight in what is really, really troubling details and updates about what is happening in that area. And it's if you watch some of this video, like these are the protesters basically being shoved and pushed right now. Canadian police using pepper spray, stun grenades, in a final push to try to clear the capital of these trucks and demonstrators who've been occupying the downtown core of Ottawa now for more than 3 weeks to protest against these pandemic restrictions. The Ottawa police chief is threatening to hunt down. I love this part of the story. The Ottawa police chief is now threatening to hunt down and punish protesters regardless of whether they retreated and went home or not. Like they're going to come and find you. And I love that they have to climb over like piles of snow. It's almost like a modern day snow fort. They're punching people in the face, kneeing people. Here's one piece of disturbing video, and I want to warn you, this video could be hard to watch. It was shot this morning, okay, by a bystander named Brian Konobrowski. Now, Brian shot this video, and it should be noted that no news organizations have reached out to get access to this video, to this footage. And it's amazing, like, you'd think like news organizations would be interested in getting their hands on this footage. Like, hey, we want to credit, show what's going on there, give the actual story. No, the news organizations in Canada have not reached out. They don't care. They don't really care at all about it. They just want to continue pushing the same narrative. But watch this, a little disturbing. This is a wide camera shot here of this footage of what happens here, and then they zoom in on this guy getting beaten by the police. So you can see on the right side of your screen is what we're going to zoom in on here in a second. So here we go. Watch. Look over here. This guy's down on the ground in the snow. Let's just knee him in the head. Let's just keep kneeing him in the head. Keep kneeing him in the head. That'll subdue him. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
Well, and have you seen? I've been seeing all over Twitter, and I know Twitter's not like the end all be all for great information, but they're saying that the police barricades and stuff are more disruptive to the flow of everything than the trucks were.
I believe that. You can't cross sidewalks. I mean, if you've seen the footage, now they're, like you have to walk in the street anyway. So what are they doing? They're blocking off the streets. Look at that. Like they're blocking off the streets. They're blocking off sidewalks. They've put up, by the way, all of these cement barricades. So they've put up these fences and cement barricades, and they're blaming truckers for the impasse. I get it. There's a new poll out this morning. I want to be fair and balanced here, cover both sides of the story. There's a new poll out this morning, which is by a nonprofit group that says that 73% of Canadians support the end of this blockade. 73% of Canadians. So we should do a poll here on the show this morning.
Well, yeah, and I'll do a poll, but we also have to take into consideration where they're getting their information. Because if they're people that watch the mainstream media and read the mainstream rags, they're going to think this was a violent protest. If you're clear across the other side of Canada, you have no idea that this was not violent, then of course that's what you're going to think.
Or it could be on just the violence piece of this, and we should be fair here. Like, I want to be absolutely fair in this question, and I'm raising the question here so we cover both sides of the story. Is it that they feel like it's costing them, their small businesses are being crushed and so forth? That's the argument that we're hearing from leaders. That, you know, that's what we're hearing from Ottawa mayor specifically, saying that this is crushing small businesses. They can't get things across the bridges. It's destroying their way of life. So that's one side of it.
What question do you want me to pose in a poll?
Well, let's ask the same question the pollsters asked, right? Do you support the end of this blockade in Ottawa? Like, do you think the arrests? Yeah, do you support the end of this blockade? Because that's the way they framed it. You know, 73% of Canadians said they want this to be finished. Look, and I think I personally want it to be finished, but I want the end result to be that these mandates are lifted, right? So, like, ended with what having been the response from these protests. Did the protests work? It seemed like they've certainly sparked a movement around the world against tyranny. But then at the end of the day, tyranny moves in. Tyranny moves in with these police officers, you know, grabbing these people and using pepper spray, punching them, beating them, kicking them, tearing down, and by the way, stealing their trucks and their RVs and campers, just loading them up and taking them away. So, I would want these things to end, but I would want them to end with the proper result. It should be noted as well, here's this guy. Meanwhile, world leaders taking notice. This is the Romanian member of the European Parliament, Cristian Terhez. He lambasted the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau over his authoritarian response to the Freedom Convoy, calling him a tyrant and a dictator. So this was during a EU press conference in Strasbourg last week. Terhez denounced Trudeau for his declaration of martial law in Canada to crush the protesters who've been occupying Ottawa for weeks. Terhez went on to point out that Trudeau and his globalist ilk have supplanted science, and says that they're putting in this like new religion that can't be questioned, which is the opposite of the scientific method, he said. I think that was interesting, hearing that out of Europe. I mean, look at these blockades, these cement barricades and things they're having to lift up and put away now.
I want to read a tweet from Justin Trudeau from March 31st of 2020. This is what Justin Trudeau tweeted from his official Twitter account. While many of us are working from home, there are others who aren't able to do that, like the truck drivers who are working day and night to make sure our shelves are stocked. So when you can, please hashtag thank a trucker for everything they're doing and help them however you can.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing what happens in a short amount of time. You know?
That's a year ago.
Once you won't even go back further than that. I read a blog post in 2016 over the weekend about Justin Trudeau, and was reading about by him becoming prime minister, will this government move towards a tyrannical government? And that was the fear then. Like the warning signs were in place ahead of time about Justin Trudeau and the new Canadian government that he leads. And those things came true. Isn't it amazing that at that time you're seen as a conspiracy theorist when you write a blog post like that, or you put out these ideas that Justin Trudeau and his ilk are going to clamp down on people and take personal liberties away and steal bank accounts, which is what they did.
And I posted something yesterday that kind of draws the parallel to what went on in Nazi Germany versus what's going on there. And people are like, that is not a parallel. Like they're not killing people in mass. I'm like, look, what I'm pointing out is that we need to know history so we don't repeat it. What it's pointing out is the things that Hitler did initially to gain power and then move to that. Maybe it would never go to that, but these are the things that he did to establish his power before he did all the worst things that he did.
Yeah, and by the way, it should be pointed out that the Third Reich, we can draw comparisons if you want, but the Third Reich won at the ballot box. Remember that. People voted these people in. Justin Trudeau is not just there as a dictator. He was voted in. People have an opportunity to elect these people. That's exactly what happened. Same with the mayor of Ottawa. Have you seen the mayor of Ottawa? This is outrageous. So the mayor of Ottawa is just over the moon this morning. I mean, he's excited about confiscating all of these RVs and these trucks. Stolen. I mean, they literally pulled in these, flatbed trucks and stole these trucks and RVs from people. They kicked them out of their RVs and they took them.
And they probably, because they brought all these tow trucks in from out of the area. So are they taking them back to their area? Like, are they going to be anywhere where they can even get to them?
No. You're not going to get access to your RV anymore. It's gone. Watch this amazing interview with the state-run news media where he praises Justin Trudeau's use of the Emergency Powers Act, and then he talks about what he plans to do with all of these trucks that he just stole. Like, he's hoping that the Trudeau government will support what he plans to do with all of these stolen trucks now. Watch this. Here's the Ottawa Mayor, Jim Watson.
What do you make of how far the police have managed to get today?
Well, they've done a remarkable job both last night and today. As you pointed out, they've got Wellington Street cleaned up. Most of the trucks have been towed away. And I now just got word that the Sir Johnny Macdonald Parkway, most of the trucks are removed from that section in the west end of the city as well. So they've made a lot of progress. They've been very measured in the response. It's a really tough assignment for police officers getting yelled at and spat upon. But they have been calm and cool and collective. And we owe a debt of gratitude to all those municipal forces that have come in from across Canada, disrupted our city. You've heard our small business community, and this is costing a small fortune for the taxpayers of Ottawa. And that's one of the reasons why, under the Emergency Act, I've asked our solicitor and our city manager, how can we keep the tow trucks and the campers and the vans and everything else that we've confiscated and sell those pieces of equipment to help recoup some of the costs that our taxpayers are absorbing. So that's one of the provisions of the Emergency Act. And we have been a beneficiary of the Emergency Act. As they debated on the Hill, I asked the members of Parliament to consider. It's helped us a lot on things like confiscating vehicles, not having to swear in peace officers to the RCMP, and so many other things that have been very helpful over the course of this period, including you can't be under 18 and be in this rally. It's just unbelievable. We get copycat.
I mean, did you hear how jubilant he is? I mean, he's like, oh, these amazing. The Emergency Act has been fantastic for us. We don't have to swear in peace officers. We can just like literally put them out there. We don't have to go through that whole process. We don't have to go through like due process. Like, we can just steal people's trucks. We can just grab their RVs. We can load them up onto these flatbed trucks and just take them. And now I want to sell them so that I can raise money for the city.
Did you see the interview where the press had asked, I believe it was the chief of police, about like what they were going to do to the protesters, and he basically said that they were going to be going after them for months to come, and even if they weren't, like, if you were there, like they were asking like about journalists and stuff, and he's like, journalists needs to stay away from the actual area, and not be in the middle of it, or they will get arrested too. Like, did you see that interview? Yeah, and I made mention a part of like that at the beginning here about that they're gonna come after the chief of police. Like, we're gonna come after you for months, and even if you were here and left, like you were here and you were protesting and then you went home. Does this sound familiar at all? I don't mean to compare it, but I will to some of the January 6th dragnet that happened in the United States, right? Like, you were here. You were outside, maybe you were peaceful. I don't know. We're gonna still follow you. We're gonna be looking into you. We're gonna look at every possible camera and see if you were in the area near the Capitol on January 6th. Then we're gonna come for you. No, I'm not saying you shouldn't come for the people that actually did harm. Absolutely, 100%. Go for it. But these people who were there supporting the truckers, maybe brought food, brought things, supplies to help the truckers out. If you were here and you left after the Emergency Act was enacted, we're going to come for you. Like, we're still going to come for you. You parked your truck here and then you left, we're going to come for you. Oh, and by the way, if your truck is still here, we're taking it anyway. Like, we're going to arrest you. We're going to arrest you, and we're going to take your truck, and we're going to sell your truck. Well, and Steve
Think about
Vanderford
that
in the
for a second.
chat. Steve Vanderford in the chat said, I mean, he didn't tell the truckers to block the road. He did tell them to leave, and they didn't, so he took their truck. Selling them to pay for the cost of what they caused makes sense.
Steven. So, okay. Let us know if anyone agrees with Steven in the chat. And I want to have a fair and honest and humane conversation here, right? But these people came to protest. These people parked their trucks on public streets and said, we are not going to allow the government to mandate what we do to our bodies. Like, that's our protest. That's we and many of us are vaccinated, right? But we do not want you telling us what to do with our bodies as we cross borders and deliver goods for this country. Like, we are on the front lines. We've been on the front lines throughout this entire pandemic, and here's what we're standing for. We're going to hold the line and do this. Now, they come along, they use these flatbed trucks. They get look at this. They get these tow trucks, they drag them out of there like this RV being sold. We're going to raise money and sell these things. I completely disagree. You know.
Well, and most of the chat does too. We have 760 votes. Do you support the end of this blockade? 68% no, 20% yes, 12% not sure.
I mean, this is tyrannical. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. This is tyrannical.
Well, and you have to, like, you know, even so, there's no proof of any kind of violent protesting or anything like that. They weren't burning small businesses. They weren't doing what has been allowed to be done in this country. They weren't doing that. But you guys don't understand the precedent that this sells. When a government takes this power, they don't give it back, and that's the problem. That like, if you look at after 9/11, we got the Patriot Act, the NDAA, on all of that stuff. That established power that that's still here. And if you are deemed a terrorist in this country, they can take you to jail without due process. So meaning you get no lawyer, you get no outside phone calls. You are a enemy of the state, and they can hold you indefinitely without that. And that's what that bill did. So that's what this is doing. It's setting that precedent to give them powers that you don't want them to have. So regardless of them blocking the streets or whatever, you should be supporting the truckers, because if you're supporting that kind of government, you're basically supporting authoritarianism.
Yeah. And you're right. You never unwind these powers. I mean, this genie never gets put back in the bottle. Let's be clear about that, right? Once you go down this rabbit hole of giving government more power, they don't, and you give the military more power. They don't give it back. The military never cedes power back to the state, never, or to other branches of government. It doesn't happen. So now Justin Trudeau, of course, a few weeks ago or last week said, hey, this is going to be temporary, right? It's going to be targeted geographically just to this area. Now we'll see. If they get these trucks out of there in the next 24, 48 hours, okay, how quickly will they relinquish this power back? It'll probably be months, if not years or ever, when they finally release power back. I just don't believe that they're going to do that. They're going to say the Emergency Powers Act is now done. We've stopped invoking it. It's over with. We're going back to normal.
Well, when you hear people in power saying we're going to sell the trucks to get the money back, that just tells you that this is, you know, it's like, if you think about it, when, and I'm drawing the parallel again, but Germany was already killing people with eugenics and stuff before Hitler even came to be. Like, they were already doing things about the genetics and stuff. So, you know, once these precedents are set, they don't go away. Now, yeah, sure, Hitler ended up losing power and stuff. So but it takes these things. It takes these protests. It takes these people standing up to this stuff so that you don't end up with a tyrannical government.
I mean, I just can't. What's amazing to me is that this, well, that's not amazing, but I mean, it's state-run media. So the mayor of Ottawa goes on state media to talk about how gleeful he is about this process, about removing these trucks. He's on state-run media, not being pushed at all by the news anchor there, questioning their authority to do this, and sharing the other side of the story. I mean, this is state media doing this.
You know what?
West end of the city as well. So they've made a lot of progress. They've been very measured in the response. It's a really tough assignment for.
They've been very measured in their response. Like these police
Right.
have been very measured in their response.
Stomping people with horses and beating them with the batons, that's very
Like,
very
does this
measured.
look like it's measured in its response? Like, let me just kick you in the face. Let me knee you in the head here. You stay down. You're in the snow. You're in the snow. Let me just keep doing that. Let me just keep smashing you in the face. There's 3 of us.
And
Okay.
you know what's crazy? All
It's
Justin
measured.
Trudeau would have had to have done, all he would have to done is meet with these people. If he would have met with them, they would have come up because all they wanted was a solution. They just wanted to be heard. And by him hiding and then doing this, he never listened to them.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, he made it like if he showed up, they were going to lynch him or something. That wouldn't have happened. He could have went there. He could have had this probably done and over within a week. Like, okay, we're not going to mandate you guys. We're sorry. You're in your trucks by yourselves. There's no reason for us to mandate you. Sorry that I said that we were going to do that. Let's move on.
Yeah. Cops, auspicious in our chat says cops are mandated to uphold the law. If they break it, they lose credibility to enforce the law.
I think you lose a lot more credibility if you're beating your peaceful citizens. Because there's a time when you as a cop should be like, look, this is not right. Look at that Mountie, that Royal, the guy that was like a very decorated mounted sniper, and he's like, I'm not doing this. He stood up against the government because he knows these guys have to know deep down inside that these are their fellow citizens, and that's not what you do.
A lot of people in the chat saying, like Kathy LaCroix says, okay, again, if they sell those trucks, do the owners still owe the loan they have? Of course.
Yeah.
Like, if that truck is gone and they still owe a loan on that truck to, to the company that leased it to them, of course they still have to pay off that loan. It's not like, oh, you were one of the people that was involved in the protests and their truck was now confiscated by the state.
Now, did they
sold?
Did they have the same kind of credit system up there that we do? So like if they refuse to pay it and then the company, the bank or whatever repossesses the truck, they would have to repossess it from the government or whatever. But does that person get, like, is their credit destroyed? Like, do they have the same system there? I
mean, I don't know. I'd have to ask. I know they have different like retirement accounts and things like that. So any Canadians watching the show right now, let us know. Like, if for, you have a loan on a truck, let us know in the chat. Is it different than in the United States? In the United States, we have an economy built on credit, right? And that's all. The United States is an economy built on credit and debt. Since we got off the gold standard in the 1970s, that's what we do. We're a debt-based United States economy. What about Canada? What about Canada? If you decide, hey, I'm just not paying, I can't pay this truck loan back anymore because my car was confiscated and my way of life was now ruined. And the government took my truck. The government took my RV. They took my truck. What do I do? I'd be curious right now in the chat if anyone else could let us know on that.
The auspicious says, if your car gets impounded, it's for 30 days at $30 per day. You cannot steal a citizen's property. I'm from Montreal. And yeah, and normally you're right. But when they put these new acts in place, this emergency act, that gives them different powers than normal. So that's something they could say, no, yeah, we're keeping it under the, like, we're not going to give it back to the terrorist or whatever. Like, they could deem that person something, and maybe in that situation, they don't allow you to own property of that kind or whatever. Like, they pretty much have made it so that they can do whatever they want now.
Yeah, I mean, talk about, as Richard Blackstone says, talk about screwing small businesses. All those truckers are small businesses. Right. And as Natalie points out, having read the book, she talks about the book all the time, the Secret Life of Groceries. Might not sound like a sexy book, but when she was reading this book, she was like, "You're not going to believe this," and she was mentioning the way that these truckers are just treated. I mean, they living paycheck to paycheck. Number one, they push their bodies and their minds like, I mean, they don't get much sleep, right? They're pushing themselves. If they sleep like a normal night's sleep, like, they won't make money, basically. Like, they just will not be able to provide for their families. So they've got to sleep less than normal people do. And they make no money to begin with. And so now, I mean, think about their livelihood being totally upended in this situation.
Well, and think about it. They're like complaining that it was because it's holding up the flow of goods and all this other stuff. But it's like, confiscating their trucks and taking the truckers off the road completely doesn't do the same thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's maybe the way the protest should unfold. I see people in her chat saying, hey, what if they said, we're okay, you're removing our trucks. we're not going to deliver anything anymore. Like, you'd have an entire economy that would just grind to a complete halt. And make no mistake about it, this did an incredible, this wasn't, people don't talk about the small businesses. That's the way the mainstream media is spinning this, right? It's that the small businesses are being crushed. What are they specifically talking about? They're talking about the businesses in downtown Ottawa, right? We have all of these people in downtown Ottawa who are going into these stores now for the first time. Maybe they haven't even been there before. But on top of it, what they're really talking about is big business is actually being hurt by this. It's right. The Fords of the world. It's the big businesses that can't get their auto parts across the borders. And when you have big business or basically telling these politicians, hey, those millions of dollars that I donated to you in your last campaign, all those millions that I donated to you, we are Google, we are Ford, we are General Motors, we are whatever big corporation, we are Target, all that money that we donated to you in the last campaign, like, you cannot count on that next time unless you clamp down on these people and make this end, because we are losing millions of dollars a day as a business if you do not end this now. That's what's happening. Well,
and that would be a great final to this, is if they all just decided, okay, well, we'll just park all of our trucks at home. Like that would be, because like you're hurting the people that are moving the goods across your country. And it's like, you didn't stand up for the worker. So are any workers actually going to, what worker is going to trust the government now?
Exactly. And so if you're just joining us, police attacking protesters, using pepper spray, using all sorts of respiratory irritants. By the way, can you sue the Canadian government? Can you sue them for getting cancer later on because you're breathing in these toxic chemicals that they're spraying on you because you're on a public street? Can you sue them? Or they can say, no, because of the Emergency Act, because of the Emergency War Powers Act that we have here in Canada now, you can't do anything to us. You can't do anything to us. Because of these emergency powers, you can't do anything to us. Oh yeah, but now I've got cancer because you sprayed this crap all over me. And it inhibited my ability to breathe. Right? Isn't that funny, the irony too? Here we are, the reason you want us, the reason you're trying to impose this is because you want to make sure that everyone gets vaccinated or wears a mask or whatever it is. And here you are spraying us with toxic chemicals, getting us to move. Catch the irony in that? We really care about the health of our country.
Stephen Vanderford in the chat again is saying, when you choose to go protest, you are willingly taking the chance to have your life effed. Everyone here understands this, which is why so few people go protest. But in a peaceful protest, you should not have. If you are in fear of your life being effed for protesting, then that's what's wrong. You should not be in that fear, and that's what makes no sense. You're that scared of your government that you can't even protest. Protesting is a right. That is a right that we have.
Yeah. Eric Stephanie in our chat says, over on Twitch, says, I do feel bad for small businesses. I used to run one. I hope they recover. Absolutely. Yeah, I think so too. And I hope that that's the case. But you have to understand that the government has already, as Carol Roth points out, has already crushed small business, with these pandemic restrictions.
Yeah, think about that.
Big businesses has survived. It's the small businesses that the government killed by all of these closures and the pandemic restrictions.
So far in the United States, 200,000 small businesses have gone under since the pandemic. That is a dream come true for the Walmarts, the Targets, the Amazons. They generally go into these areas where they're building up these big companies, and they go there's a documentary that shows these Walmart executives driving around saying, we're going to put them out of business, we're going to put them out of business, and they do this intentionally. And what happened with the government by putting the restrictions on the little companies and not the big companies, they just squashed all their competition.
Yeah, exactly. So they get them out of the way for free. Hey, government will do it for us. Now we don't have to spend all that time and money and attention and effort trying to, build up our super Walmart here in this area. We're running all these small businesses underground. We're going to do it for you. That's what the government does.
And that's the thing, and that's why I get frustrated when I see people that aren't supporting the truckers, because you're supporting authoritarianism. That's what you are supporting if you don't support the truckers, regardless if you agree with the reason they're doing it. But this response, now imagine, just put that on something else. What if it was a different kind of protest about something that you cared about, and it got shut down like this and they became violent, and all you wanted to do was stop them from making you do something that you didn't agree with? What if they had like what Germany did and had forced abortions or whatever? That's what they did. What if they did that? They're like, hey, we're going to force these now, and you wanted to stand up to that. You know, that's the precedent you're setting, to not have the right to stand up for the things that matter to you.
I mean, if you don't think that this can happen, it's already happening. You know, this is what happens when you have tyrannical governments.
I mean, how many people are shocked?
States.
How many people are shocked at the fact that this is happening in Canada?
Right. I mean, normally this is the kind of stuff that happens in the United States, isn't it? I mean, but we already have like forced government sterilization in China, you know, of the Uyghur population. It's already happening. You know, when government gets too much power, it's, you know, yeah, the auspicious in our chat says, I never thought this would happen in Canada. Michael Gard in our chat says, all truckers in Canada should refuse to work until impounded trucks are returned. John Carlson says, that's the problem. People are too weak nowadays until it comes to something that affects them, which you would think that this mandate would affect everybody. And I think you're right about that, John. But it's not that people are too weak. It's that people are too propagandized. Mm-hmm. And so people just don't know. That's the problem. I feel like people haven't now become weaker. Like we're just not weaker human beings suddenly.
Well, and the thing is, like, so in Canada, you don't think of Canada as like a Fox News kind of country, right? Where you're getting propagandized on a daily basis on CNN, on MSNBC. But right. If you look at what the main media did in Canada, all of it was talking about Nazis, white supremacists, violence, and all this other stuff. So a majority of Canadians that have no reason not to trust those channels, those journalists, are actually believing that's what's happening. And that's why I feel like some people are against the truckers, because they feel like it was violent. But I have not seen a single video come out where it showed any of them being violent.
I haven't either. And hey, share it if you have it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I would love to see it. And it's so true. Again, I played the video of Jim Walton here, he's the mayor of Ottawa. And that's on state television, right? It's on state media. And he's specifically talking about confiscating these trucks. And I bet most Canadians watch these state-run channels. Let me ask my Canadian viewers this morning, are you used to having like this big political debate about like is there like a station that you watch that you know has a certain political bent, you know? Or are you, like in the United States, we know that CNN is one way, right? We know that MSNBC is one way. We know that Fox is one way. Do you have that debate? You have that debate about your version of NPR, or is it
right?
Really is not much of that of focus in Canada? I'm just curious.
Is there like a Canadian conservative news and Canadian liberal news? Like, is that a known thing? Right.
Yeah. But again, so this state media, and a lot of the interviews that I've seen on the state media were the city officials, police officers, chief of police, the mayor of Ottawa specifically. The auspicious in our chat says, no, the CBC has shown how much of an echo chamber of the government they've been during this protest. CBC is state run. And that's what this was. I think this was a CBC report with the mayor of Ottawa. What's the CBC? I think it was. This is a...
What do you make of how far the police have managed to get today?
Well, they've done a remarkable job both last night and today. As you pointed out, they've got Wellington Street cleaned up. Most of the trucks have been towed away.
So really hard hitting there. What do you think of how well the police are doing right now? Well, they've been very measured in their response. Yeah, sure, we don't want to share... wouldn't it have been great to say, hey, well, we're getting reports of police brutality here. They're using pepper spray and tear gas. And we have this video, Mr. Mayor, we'd like to show you of these police officers punching or kneeing other protesters in the head while they're on the ground in the snow. Is that a measured response, Mr. Mayor? Can you respond to this video that we just received in our newsroom of police officers kicking a protester in the face on the ground in the snow? No, none of that. We don't get to ask the mayor that. State media.
Well, and also, like, you can't just believe, like, I see people saying, well, you know, if they're hurting small businesses, they need to be out of there, but they probably should have done it a different way. But show me that they actually did hurt the small businesses in that area. Yeah. I would like to see that. Like,
I would like to hear from small business owners. If anybody has a small business in downtown Ottawa where they have been hurt as a result of this, please let us know. I would share that news right here on the show in the same way that I shared the poll results of that, you know, whatever poll it was of the, you know, nonprofits saying that 73% of Canadians support the end of this of these protests. So,
well, and let me tell you too, if there would have been any violence from those truckers at any point, that would have been repeated on state media, on U.S. media. Like, that would have been the lead story for months. And that's why I've never seen a video personally, because if they would have had a video of it, they would have used that to propagandize and get you on board for ending the protest. Like, they would have loved to have video of violence.
Yeah, I would like to see it. I mean, and just all we want to share is the facts here. And so, you know, I just don't trust our government. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. I never, you know, and I really question everything that they tell us because it's all part of one big military industrial complex lying machine, especially in the United States. And so I've been around too long. I've covered politics for 20 years as a journalist. I've watched these people lie, and you see where the money flows. Just follow the money, guys. Just follow the money flowing right into the coffers of these politicians. Now, all of them except millions of dollars in donations from these big companies, right? They get money from Raytheon. They get money from Northrop Grumman in the United States. It all flows to them. So just follow that. Like, you don't need to look further and try to come up with some other alternative understanding of this. It's all the same. It all flows from this money that goes right into these government pockets,
well,
these politicians' pockets.
When I worked for the Ron Paul campaign, I met a guy named John, and he was actually an ex-lobbyist, and he said that basically when you lobby these guys, they basically will fall on a sword to get the bill passed with your legislation in it. So these corporations are the ones writing the legislation. They hand it to the person they're giving money to. They go in and edit it the way that they need to make it look like it came from them with their little, what are those people called that do the actual writing for them? Interns or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then it goes, they go into Congress and then they fight for it. And he said they will fall on a sword because they need that money. Like, there are so many of these people enrich themselves when they get in there. And that's not, you know, you look at them buying stocks and all this other stuff. They're able to become millionaires while they're 100 millionaires in some cases while they're in there. And that is a huge problem.
Yeah. 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 I mean, how is Nancy Pelosi able to make, you know, goes from making whatever, $1 million that she had to, you know, $50 million in a short amount of time, you know?
John Carlson in the chat says, I seen where one business owner gave $250 to fill up someone's tank just to keep them warm, and she got criticized for that bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not surprising. And the people that were there that ended up getting, arrested, or they'll get penalized for being in that zone, have their bank account seized and other information taken down and seized. They could really upend their lives. I mean, 100,000 people's names were revealed from having donated to these different, to the Give, Send, Go account and GoFundMe accounts. Like, these people just donated money, and a hacker breaks in somehow and manages to release all of that information. Really? And that hacker, by the way, admitted to having worked before in other hacking campaigns for the FBI. So who's involved in this? Like, really? Yeah, we've got more news to get to here on the show. We got a lot more to talk about this morning. We're going to talk about Ukraine in a second and what's happening with we got a bombshell story on the Jeffrey Epstein front, which we'll get to in a minute. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Ultimate Ears. It's one of those things where we rely on our devices every day. And I take a walk every morning with Grover, and I want earbuds that truly fit, that feel great in my ear. And that's where UE Fits comes in, because it's molded specifically to you. It's not some like one size fits all. Here's what happens when you order the Ultimate Ears from Logitech. What happens is the molding experience is amazing. You put it in your ear, And after about 60 seconds, it starts to get warm. You'll feel it in your ear. It starts to harden a little bit, and then it'll beep to let you know that it's done. And now your earbuds are totally molded perfectly to fit your ear. I mean, it's amazing. It's the world's most comfortable earbuds with premium sound and all-day comfort. You get a guaranteed perfect fit in 60 seconds. Ultimate Ears fits will stay put when you're on the go, but feel ultra comfortable, so you can wear them all day long, making phone calls, just listening to music. Really, really great. Industry-leading expertise, trusted by pro musicians and hi-fi enthusiasts for over 25 years. They're engineered to provide a full, warm sound with a tight, punchy low end, and you can set custom EQ presets right inside the application as well. Really, really simple to use. Once you plug it in, put it in your ear, and then form-fit it perfectly to your own head. With 8 hours of continuous playback on a single charge, up to 20 hours with the charging case, Ultimate Ears fits are perfect for listening to your favorite shows, like this one, all day long. Now, if you try fits and you don't love them as much as I do, no worries. Ultimate Ears offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. Plus, you'll get free shipping, free returns, and a 1-year warranty. That's right. Use promo code INVEST when you go to ue.com/fits to get your pair of Ultimate Ears fits for just $199. That's ue.com/fits. Use the promo code INVEST. INVEST is the promo code. ue.com/fits. It's right there on your screen. Go check them out today. Ultimate Ears. You're not going to be disappointed. I'll tell you that much. All right, we've got more news to get to here on the show. Let's talk about what's happening in Ukraine. The brinksmanship over Ukraine continues this morning. We got news late Sunday night that President Joe Biden had agreed in principle to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin to discuss the crisis in Ukraine. It's like a minute-by-minute changing situation at this hour, at this minute, I should say. This is surprising that Biden is actually going to do this. He agreed to this Macron meeting that Macron set up, the French president. He said he had no intention of calling Putin last week. Remember, we played that sound here on the show? Well, what changed? Yes, Emmanuel Macron is worried that Europe could go down in flames if there's a war. What's interesting, though, is according to the White House, though, this tentative summit will only take place, again, this is what the White House is saying, if Russian forces forego a threatened invasion of Ukraine. So, to be clear, the White House is specifically saying, hey, we will not talk with Putin unless they refuse to invade. Okay. Okay. What? Well, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said, quote, as the president repeatedly made clear, let me see if I have her statement here. Yes, here's Jen Psaki's statement. As the president repeatedly made clear, we are committed to pursuing diplomacy until the moment an invasion begins. Secretary Blinken, Foreign Minister Lavrov are scheduled to meet later this week in Europe, provided Russia does not proceed with military action. President Biden accepted in principle a meeting with President Putin following that engagement, again, if an invasion hasn't happened. We're also ready to impose swift and severe consequences should Russia instead choose war. And currently, Russia appears to be continuing preparations for a full-scale assault on Ukraine very soon. So that's the White House talking points on this. Like, we will meet with them, but we really see that they're about to go to war, so we probably won't. You know, these Russian forces are amassing. They're already bombing. They're already doing things. So we really probably are not going to hold a meeting with you because you guys are just already starting this invasion process. But maybe you'll get your act together and we won't have this problem. Ukraine's defense minister Alexei Reznikov has slammed this inappropriate speculation about a Russian attack. Reznikov, I should say. Reznikov, I can't speak today. He told the Ukrainian television channel yesterday that according to current observations, no strike group has been formed by Russia on Ukraine's borders. And he said, quote, therefore, in my opinion, it is inappropriate to say that there will be an attack tomorrow or the day after. He said any reports of a Russian invasion are obviously fake news and said that speculation was harming the country. And yet that's exactly what's happened in all of this, right? Biden again asserting last week that a Russian attack will take place within days. It was supposed to happen on the 16th of February. That didn't happen.
48 hours.
Yeah, it was going to happen in 48 hours. And then we were told yesterday, remember it was going to be Politico said it was going to be February 20th. So that was yesterday. That didn't happen. So it should be common sense by now that when the entire Western political media class starts screaming that a government is acting like an evil supervillain, you're probably being propagandized too, right? If everyone is saying the same thing. But most people are still swallowing it like hook, line, and sinker. I mean, this is the same thing that's being said by Jen Psaki at the White House.
And all these other countries that say that, they say this about us, it's not propaganda because we do that. We do what we're telling these countries not to do.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Now we had this report too this morning that a Russian guard post on the Ukrainian border was hit by an artillery shell. Okay. This is what we're saying. A statement released Monday by officials from the FSB's press office said that about 9:30 or 9:50 this morning, so just a few minutes ago, a shell of an unknown type fired from Ukrainian territory completely destroyed the place of work of guards from the Border Department of Russia's Federal Security Service in the Rostov region. But sorry for me being cynical, right? When we see videos released and the media runs with it, and then you look at the metadata of those videos and you see that they're from 2019, right? Or you see that, remember the videos of like, oh, look at these guys, they're firing on rifles, they're massing, and then we find out that it's from like a Kentucky rifle range. Like the videos from like United States in a Kentucky rifle range. It's not even like from Russia. Like this is the stuff that the media runs with, and we all believe it. Remember the saying, what is it, Samuel Clemens, who said that a lie gets halfway around the world before truth has a chance to put on its pants in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
So we're already like having to walk back lies, right? We're already listening to this. I mean, let's not forget too, like in all of these lies, there's a huge cost to this. I mean, I know maybe this hasn't really been covered, but in all of these lies, like what Ukrainians are saying this morning is that this is crushing our economy. Like all of this talk about Russia is crushing our economy. For instance, Dave Camaria slammed CNN and other news organizations, he says, for the negative impact on the Ukrainian economy. They say all of this false invasion talk have now cost the country up to $3 billion a month. What does that mean? That means that tourists aren't flying into the country, right? Who wants to go to Ukraine when you think it's about to go under, be attacked by Russia? Crushing their businesses, crushing people's livelihoods. I have a buddy who travels all the time for business throughout the region. He's like, "Oh, I'm not going near there anytime soon." He's not bringing his money right into that economy. He's not bringing his money to that region because of fear of this, media propaganda. And look, it may happen, right? So we're sitting here, we're saying, well, the United States is telling us that an attack is imminent. Now look at all these people. See all those cars lined up there? Those were people being evacuated from sections of Ukraine. And what the Russian government is telling us this morning is that all of those people that were evacuated are being told to evacuate. They got in their cars and they're leaving these separatist areas, heading into Russia to be, quote, safe so they don't get attacked. We're turning around and telling them to go back home because there's nothing happening. So this sort of propaganda that's driving these people crazy. It's amazing to watch the U.S. mainstream media continue this narrative. I mean, just look at NBC. This is NBC's Howard Feynman. He tweeted this morning. He said, David Martin of CBS News, a superb reporter that I've known for decades and worked with at the original Newsweek for many years, and whom how many qualifiers, right, does he have to say in here? He's like David, he had to put all these qualifiers in there. David Martin of CBS News, a superb reporter I've known for decades and worked with at the original Newsweek for many years, and whom I trust totally, says Putin has just ordered Russian forces to invade Ukraine in its entirety, with reserve units following to run an occupation. Okay, that's what Howard Feynman says from NBC News. So he's quoting David Martin of CBS News, two organizations you can trust.
Right.
Right? So NBC is citing a CBS News report because they're like, you know what? Maybe this is not going to go the way we think it was going to go. So I'm gonna cite my friend.
Well, I think it's hilarious too that we keep hearing like Conan Billy Bone in the chat says Russia has massed 190,000 troops on the border and set up field hospitals. No proof of that. And they're like 190,000, 200,000, 150,000. They just moved in 7,000 new troops. Like who's the person that's standing on the border
counting? Like
clicking
one of
that.
those clickers. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, how many are you? You're 5 people for dinner? Click, click, click. How many people? Count 7 over there. 7. Click, click, click. Yeah, who's doing the counting? Now, look, and I don't criticize someone for saying that in our chat because they've been, whoever said this, Conan Billy Bone in our chat.
Billy Bone, yeah, who also just said, I don't understand supporting and sympathizing with Putin.
Totally understand that, right? But here's what you need to understand is that you are swallowing propaganda by the boatloads. Where do you get your information? You turn on CNN, you turn on mainstream media, you turn on MSNBC, pick up a Newsweek, pick up Time Magazine, pick up the front page of The Atlantic. You know, the Atlantic magazine has front page of Putin with like why he's going to crush the rest of the world and so forth. Okay. So that's the media that you're consuming on a regular basis, right? When you go to Europe, though, and you see something entirely different, you get different media. You realize that they don't have a military-industrial complex that's making billions and billions of dollars off of fomenting ideas of war.
He says he gets it from the BBC.
Well, did you see our BBC expose last week where we talked about the BBC? I mean, literally training reporters to be pro-Western sympathizers. I mean, the BBC and Reuters specifically. So again, you have these state-run, think about the BBC, right? UK state-run media, complicit in driving their country in the United States into war in Iraq. Like, that's where you're getting this information from. Question everything. Now, I'm not saying that BBC doesn't have some great reporters and does some great work sometimes, but you should question always the source. Always the source.
Yeah, because it's like like MSNBC, all these, they do have their shows that have people that report good stuff. Right. And that's why we do sometimes go to them for articles and stuff like that. There is good information on there, but you have to know how to sift through the propaganda and the news.
So when we were hearing those reports, so the 150,000 troops, 105,000 troops, and then it was suddenly 200,000 troops are amassed at the border. Where's that information coming from? And so then we had the defense minister of Russia in an interview that we featured here with Aaron Mate. And Aaron, who's an excellent reporter, okay, he asked him, he brought up the question about the troops. He's like, we don't even know where this number came from. He's like, we told the West we were running these military drills. We told them back in November we were doing these military drills. We do them every year. There was nothing made about it, no big deal. Suddenly now there's a big deal made about it. And he said, where did these numbers come from? He said, where is this 100,000, where do these numbers even come from? He said, all we heard about it came from the Western media. Came from Western media. We have no confirmation of these numbers at all.
Well, and even as a military leader, if you are a military and you're moving forces, you're not going to say how many you're moving. You know what I mean? So like that information wouldn't even come from Russia if they were moving troops.
So it's readily available in satellite imagery. Really? Okay. Are you who has access to this data? Who is literally standing there counting people's head by head by head? That's really, okay. So again, according to the White House, they're invading any second now. They are invading any second. That's what's happening.
Well, and Conan said, of course I question mainstream media, but you buy a Russian ambassador's word? Are you serious?
I'm not buying anything.
Right. It's just prove what you're saying. That's all. No, none of these media channels can prove anything.
You've been lied to repeatedly. So why would you're getting your information saying that they're about to invade from the U.S. media and the United States government, which has repeatedly lied to us about going into wars, weapons of mass destructions in Iraq, right? They've lied to us about Vietnam. They lied to us about Afghanistan. They lied to us about, the list is endless.
Here's the list. They lied about Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, Vietnam, North Korea, Iran, Venezuela, Guatemala, Honduras, Haiti, Cuba, Panama, Nicaragua. So why would we think they're telling the truth about this?
So do you buy that? I'll just throw that back at you. I mean, do you buy that? I don't. I don't believe anything these guys tell us. You know, I mean, why is the United States Air Force right now hiding UFO information, right? You have the members of the Department of Defense who I've spoken with and who are going to be, I'm going to be interviewing shortly here about this, who, you know, we have the United States Air Force hiding their sightings of UFOs when other branches of the military are reporting their findings. Why is the United States Air Force hiding this? Like, do you trust anything these guys say anymore? I don't.
That's like people being like, yeah, but Colin Powell held up that vial. He held up the vial of those chemicals. Like, of course it's real. They have to have the weapons of mass destruction. He's holding some of it right there in his hand.
He's got a little bottle of ricin right now in this little vial. You know, and he's so credible. That's why they sent them out there, by the way. Why do you think they put Colin Powell out there to do that, to get us into war in Iraq? Because he was likable. You know, he was the likable teddy bear. And he said it was the greatest regret of his entire career was lying in front of Congress. Too late. Sorry, we went to war. Thousands of people dead. Hundreds of thousands of Iraqis killed by our missiles. But we believe them? You continue to believe these guys?
Well,
These
that's
guys
like
lie on a regular basis.
That's like McNamara. I can't remember his first name, but McNamara, who was Robert McNamara, in his memoir when he was, you know, getting old and all that, he admitted to lying about the Gulf of Tonkin, which started Vietnam. Like, they lied and said we were attacked off the coast of Vietnam, and that never happened. Like, it never happened, and we started a war based on a lie.
Yeah. Well, just look how the mainstream media is spinning it this morning. Here's CNN. Here's a front page story on CNN today. And again, this is why you cannot trust these guys. Why a Putin summit would be a huge risk for Biden, right? This is CNN, which is just can't wait for a war. I mean, they're just excited for a war. Oh, you mean Biden's going to meet with Putin? That would be terrible. That's a huge risk. He shouldn't do it. We should just go to war. And why do they cite it? Here's his reasoning in this piece in CNN. Biden's political gamble. By the way, I don't know if you notice, Biden has the worst approval rating, like, of any president in modern American history right now. What political gamble is he taking by meeting with Putin? President Trump went and stood at the demilitarized zone and shook hands with Kim Jong-un, for crying out loud. Like, what political gamble is a guy whose approval rating is in the toilet at this point? The only political gamble is in actually not doing this so that we have a war that he actually improves his approval rating because the United States is in a war with Russia. That's how it works. Here's what they say. Even if the apparent agreement for a summit holds, and there was no immediate comment from the Kremlin on Sunday night, Biden will be taking a significant gamble. Hawkish Republicans are sure to accuse him of appeasing the Russian strongman and of rewarding his aggression in holding Ukraine hostage. You mean Biden's worried about hawkish Republicans? Okay. If a meeting with Putin fails and an invasion follows regardless, Biden will open himself up to charges of weakness. So your whole thing is, if a meeting with Putin fails and an invasion happens, he'll open himself up to charges of weakness? That's his big political gamble? Wow. Yeah. That's a good reason not to meet with somebody, right? Like, if we really are concerned about making sure that this doesn't happen, he should do whatever he can to meet with him to make sure that this doesn't happen. Well, but the reason we want a war, make no mistake about it, the United States wants a war. Biden wants a war. The military-industrial complex wants a war.
Like, I was just thinking, like, even if, worst case scenario, Putin is going to invade Ukraine and occupy it or whatever, it's none of our business. We do that all the time. What all places, how many bases do we have? About 1,000 all over the world? And we have the gall to tell another leader, another superpower, what they can and can't do, like it's our business. Like, even if he was going to invade, it is none of our business. We are supposed to be defending our borders, and that's it. We're not supposed to be nation building. We're not the policemen of the world.
The reason, I mean, just follow the money, guys, right? The reason we have 900 military bases around the world, the reason we are excited about this, the media is excited about this, is because war means ratings. People will be at home. They will be watching CNN. CNN always does well during times of crisis. People stop watching Fox and they flip over to CNN, and CNN's ratings are the worst they've ever been. And so right now, this is a perfect opportunity for CNN to do some great, make some great money on some advertising revenue. And the Biden administration and these members of Congress that get all of their money, donations for their campaigns from Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, the list is endless, how much money they make.
Well, and you know what's
war.
crazy is while we were over in Germany in World War II helping liberate the Jews, with the Russians, by the way, the Russians were the first in there. We went in and we helped the Russians. And what did we do while we were there? We put up things to defend ourselves against Russia. Like we established bases there during that, even though we were working with them, and those have been there ever since.
Yeah. We don't take them down. We set up military bases wherever we want.
Well, that's what people...
We bully you into it.
And that was Osama bin Laden's biggest problem with us, was that we built a base on Holy Land. And that's what they were like, get your base off of our Holy Land. This is our land. And we didn't do it.
Wayne's DIY Garage in our chat, thank you for your $10 super chat, says, I wish I could move away from Norfolk so I don't have to work on military air conditioning units. Yeah, Norfolk, obviously a big naval town. My brother, who was in the Navy, was stationed at Norfolk for a long time. Anita Thorenson says in our chat, how many kids are living in cars or in shelters? No schools. I mean, come on, man. Let's take care of what matters to us first. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and we're going to get to a story here in a second about the housing update. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Podium. And we got more news to get to here on the show. Podium. If you own a business, you know there aren't enough hours in a day to waste playing phone tag. The list of customers you need to reach doesn't get any shorter, especially when business is good. That's why local businesses everywhere turn to Podium. Podium makes every interaction as easy as sending a text message, so everything that makes your business great can get done faster. Podium isn't just a better way to communicate, it's a better way to do everything. Gathering reviews, collecting payments, and even marketing to your customers. Podium makes it just as easy as pressing send. You won't just free up more time, you'll grow your business, get more done. With Podium, you'll close deals with customers before the competition even has a chance to call them back. Join more than 100,000 businesses that already use Podium to streamline their customer interactions. Get started for free today. Just go to podium.com/invest or sign up for a paid Podium account and get a free credit card reader. They'll send that to your house so you can read the credit cards and do that. The scanning there is pretty easy. Restrictions apply. That's podium.com/invest. See how Podium can modernize your business thanks to Podium. Let's talk about what's going on in America's housing crisis. Story we've been focused on quite extensively here on the show. Congress is on recess once again this week because of the shortened week. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy are visiting Israel this week with a big congressional delegation. That's why. Why do they need to go to Israel? Because every few months we need to go to Israel to remind them how much we love them and how much money we plan to send to Israel. Meanwhile, back at home, Americans are suffering like never before. Inflation jumped 7.5% in January from a year earlier. That's the biggest increase in 4 decades, by the way. Many economists expect this to decrease as pandemic-disrupted supply chains unravel. Rising rents, though, could keep going and could keep inflation high through the end of the year.
Wait a minute. Are you sure? Because Biden said that this is the best economy ever, that this little hiccup is just temporary.
No, that's just on the jobs. Don't pay attention to the inflation part. Just ignore the inflation part. Then you'll be fine. You can pick it. When you're a politician, David, you can pick and choose what things look good for you in that moment.
Oh, so jobs don't have anything to do with the inflation, like that they're not correlated?
Jobs are fine, but he didn't mention anything about rent, right? He didn't talk about rent. He didn't talk about housing. So he can talk about jobs. That's great. But if your job doesn't go far enough to even help you pay your rent, then we're not going to talk about that in our speech. I mean, housing costs make up 1/3 of the consumer price index, and yet President Biden basically ignored it when he spoke last week about this. So, right, I mean, this is a big concern. We have some new data this morning on rental rates in the United States, and it's not good. It's actually really bad. Look at this headline from AP. Rents reach insane levels. Insane. Not just like extreme or like, could you think of like a less thing than insane to say as a headline? No, insane. And they're right. Like you think, sometimes the media, they make up stuff, make flashy headlines, clickbait headlines. No. This is right. Insane is a good way to write it. Listen to this. In the 50 largest U.S. cities, median rent rose a shocking 19% from December of 2020 to December of 2021. In 1 year, 19% increase. Do you think your town is that bad? Just wait for a second. Be thankful you don't live in Miami. Rent jumped 49% in Miami in just 1 year. 49%. You might as well round it up to 50% because the actual number was 49.8%. So 50%. Other cities across Florida, Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, all saw rents skyrocketing. The Sun Belt, San Diego, Las Vegas, Austin, Texas, Memphis, Tennessee, all saw a huge spike in rent as well. I saw a story about Spokane, Washington. Spokane, which was, you're up there near Spokane, right? Probably a couple hours drive to Spokane, Washington.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Spokane, I remember when I lived in Helena, Montana, I had a ride from Helena, which was like a 4-hour drive, to Spokane to return my Ryder truck because when I moved to Montana, I had to get a rental truck, and I had to drive it there. It was the closest one to return it to. And quiet little town. Well, it had been seen as an area where a lot of people were moving out of California because California is crazy. And so they move out of California into Spokane and Idaho and other places. But Spokane specifically was like this really nice new, like kind of cheaper place to move. Beautiful and, nice rivers and so forth. Good craft breweries and all that sort of stuff. Now it's just exploded. Now it's literally, they're saying it's insane. Like the prices are just skyrocketing. So this area that was once seen as like an alternative to California in price savings, we're going to move to Eastern Washington, and live in Spokane. No, now it's just as crazy. Things have gotten so bad that in Boston, look at this. A resident there put an igloo up for rent. Bay Village studio available. Look at this on your screen. $2,700 a month. Heat, hot water not included. First and last month's rent, 1 month broker fee. Would you rent that?
I would.
Now, I know it's a joke, right? He was doing it as a joke. This guy tweeted this picture. But in all good jokes, there's always truth, right? The reason that it's funny is because it's not that far off, right? I mean, think about that. $2,700 a month. That's actually probably better than the way some people are actually living in Boston. According to the U.S. Census Bureau this morning, rental vacancy rates during the fourth quarter of 2021 fell to 5.6%, the lowest since 1984. So that sounds good, right? Low vacancies. Meanwhile, the number of homes for sale have been at a record low, contributing to ballooning home prices that have also caused huge, increases, causing many higher income households to remain renters. So they can't find homes. And that further ups the demand. So all of these landlords now realize that there's such a demand for their property, they can just drive the rents straight up. And all of this, of course, comes while Congress is sitting on its hands doing nothing. No stimulus plan, nothing. I had an email from a viewer this morning saying, hey, Clayton, would you mind doing a stimulus update today on the show this week? Because I want to see if we're going to be able to get a check, if anything is coming in. And I'm sorry. I mean, I wish I had some good news because we just got the statistics this weekend. 3.7 million more kids are now in poverty in the United States because the monthly child tax credit has expired. So here's the new story this morning. 3.7 million more kids are in poverty without the monthly child tax credit. Since the monthly payments from this expanded child tax credit expired at the end of the year, nearly 4 million more children in the United States are in poverty. And by the way, this all happened within 1 month. Just 1 month. From December into January of this year, the child poverty rate rose from 12% to 17%. Black and Latino children experienced an even higher increase in poverty. So your government can spend an inordinate amount of money on building weapons and bombs, sending billions of dollars to Israel, sending billions of dollars off to Ukrainian forces and to NATO, but can't extend a child tax credit in the United States. And these researchers, sadly, say that the child poverty tax rate could be consistently high through the rest of 2022 if they don't get these child tax credits renewed. And it doesn't look like they're going to anytime soon. Anytime soon. Subscribe to our channel if you want to support independent journalism. We are not bought and sold by billionaire media corporations. Just by subscribing to the channel. You know, YouTube removes subscriptions. Like, you might have been subscribed to the channel, but if they do like a monthly cleanup where they try to eliminate bots that they think are like bots subscribed to channels. So if you notice that when on our screen here, if you're not subscribed, it'll be red. So click that and go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We've got more news. I want to cover this Epstein story here in a second, which is crazy, crazy, crazy talk. We'll get there. It's like the story that keeps on giving weirdness. Crazy. But first, I want to tell you about our friends at ShipStation. And by the way, I just want to thank, our sponsors that support independent journalism. They support this show. They support what we do here. We're not the mainstream media. So when you support our sponsors, you're supporting our show. And you're basically helping give the mainstream media a big middle finger as well, which we love that too. So our friends over at ShipStation. It's a better way to ship. Online shopping isn't slowing down anytime soon. In fact, it's increasing. So is your business ready to keep pace? With ShipStation, you'll never worry about shipping again. You can make the switch to a solution that handles all of your shipping needs quickly, affordably, and painlessly. ShipStation is already trusted by over 100,000 e-commerce sellers. You can keep track of your orders from any sales channel. Easily find the best shipping carrier with deeply discounted rates. Automate just about any shipping task with just a few clicks. They make it so easy to manage every order right there. So it doesn't even matter, like if you're using Amazon or eBay or Etsy or your own website, you can use it integrated right with your own website. No more headaches from dealing with returns and return tracking. ShipStation makes it super easy. Save money when you compare options and choose the best shipping solution every time. ShipStation works with every carrier, so you can always find the best fit for you. Your businesses can access the same discounted rates usually reserved for Fortune 500 companies. So you can ship more in less time with ShipStation. Use my offer code INVEST. Okay, use the offer code INVEST. That's 2 months free. Use my offer code to get 60-day free trial. That's 2 months free of no hassle, stress-free shipping. Just go to ShipStation.com, click on the microphone at the top of the page, and type in the word INVEST. See this little right here, heard our ad? Click on that, and then type in the word INVEST. ShipStation. Make ship happen. Our thanks to them for supporting the show. All right, should we talk about Epstein now? Let's do it.
Let's do it. Just don't mention her name.
I can't mention. I can't. Okay, I can't mention her name. Otherwise, YouTube will flag us again and demonetize us and all this stuff. So,
but you can say his name. That's like what?
It's so weird.
It is.
Okay, I can say his name. I can't say her name, but you know who I'm talking about. But it actually has nothing to do with either of the two of them, so I kind of can get away with that. Anyway, new stunning information: the Jeffrey Epstein story this morning. And you know the woman who was just found guilty and she's in prison now, and she was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Do you know who I'm talking about?
The one who finished his sentences?
Yeah, we'll call her G-Dog, okay, so we don't get flagged. Her family says that they're scared for her safety. Why? Because Jeffrey Epstein's French modeling agent friend, Jean-Luc Brunel, was who allegedly had procured more than 1,000 women and girls for Jeffrey Epstein, died suddenly in a prison this weekend. Suddenly. Isn't that odd? How these people keep dying suddenly in prisons. What are they trying to hide? What do they know? Jeffrey, and here he is. Like, here's his name. They called him Jeffrey Epstein's pimp, Jean-Luc Brunel. He hung himself alone in a Paris jail. And apparently, this is amazing. There was no CCTV. There was no closed caption what was it? Not closed caption television. What is CCTV?
That's closed caption. Closed circuit.
Closed circuit television. It was turned off. There he is.
So it was there, just like the other one, just like Epstein. It was there. It just happened to not be working that day?
Yeah, just was off.
Oh,
No
what do you know?
CCTV. It's so interesting, right? He was suspected of being a member of Jeffrey Epstein's global underage ring of women. And the G-Dog's family says they were shocked by his sudden death. I mean, look at them playing together. Here she is. Here's G-Dog. He's like biting her head. You know, this is what people do when you're friends. I bite the head of my friends all the time like this, don't you? So
If I'm not, they're concerned.
Exactly. Here he is with a group of girls from his modeling agency. And this comes days after Prince Andrew agreed to settle that case with Virginia Roberts that he allegedly met through Epstein and, G-Dog. In the settlement, there was no admission of liability, but, paying out a lot of money. Apparently, though, they're worried about this sort of suicide risk. Like, what's going to happen? They now find him hung himself in a Paris prison with no closed caption television closed circuit television.
And why was he in a French prison, just out of curiosity?
He was arrested last year. He was found guilty of trafficking minors. And then federal prosecutors tried to, basically, he was tied to. He was accused of procuring thousands of women, and he was arrested at an airport. I forget where he was arrested. What airport he was arrested at?
So he was arrested.
Senegal.
It was tied to the Epstein case.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, why is he? What did he know? What did he know about this? And the same way that the prison cameras in were not running at the time that Epstein died. How many more of this? Like, I just don't believe in coincidences. Do you?
No. And the two guards just happened to be reading magazines,
Yeah, the guards weren't there.
And you don't see something like that,
cameras were off in a prison where you literally have the 9/11 or the World Trade Center bomber kept. This is a high security prison, right?
I'd
where
like
you
to
have
see
some of the most important people in the world kept.
I'd like to see those prison
off.
guards' bank account after that and their house, their house deeds or whatever. If they what did they get?
CIA took care of it.
Yeah, something.
So yeah, no video in the final hours. There's no cameras suddenly. In the final hours, it was just oddly that day, we turned them off. Nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing.
Conan's saying cameras in prisons don't go off, and that's true. Anytime it's something that fits a narrative, the camera's there. But in these two instances, they just happen to be off.
Yeah. And Virginia Roberts said she was disappointed that she would not be able to face Brunel at the trial to hold him accountable. It says the suicide of Jean-Luc Brunel, who abused me and countless other girls and young women, ends another chapter. I'm disappointed I wasn't able to face him in a final trial to hold him accountable, but gratified that I was able to testify in person last year to keep him in prison. All these people, all these other former models coming forward saying they were underage at the time, saying it makes me angry because I've been fighting for this for years. I wanted this to end in court. I didn't want this to be the way that he went. He was arrested at Charles de Gaulle Airport while trying to board a plane to Senegal. He told detectives, I'm going on holiday. But he was arrested. I mean, there was an ongoing investigation to confirm all of this, everything he was tied to. But so many of these people, no wonder G-Dog's family is concerned for her safety. They keep dropping like flies, right? The people associated with this, they keep dropping like flies who have this information about, and world leaders. I mean, don't we want to know more about Bill Gates and Bill Clinton and all these people that were at Epstein Island?
Well, and that's the fear. I feel like that's why this is happening, because that's exactly what they fear. They don't want that getting out. How many powerful people are on those lists?
Yeah, exactly. And we did know that she was going to release information on that, right? She was supposed to be releasing names. I'm wondering what's going on with that. Brunel was suspected of having been a part of this whole ring organized by Epstein, and how he was able to funnel these women to his island and other places. I mean, he was the main go-to guy. They were all from the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. sadly though, like a lot of the accusations fell outside of the 20-year limit for prosecuting these crimes in France. And police called him the ghost because he was considered untouchable. He was able to continue working even though they knew that he was this bad guy. They couldn't do anything to him because all this stuff was like outside the like scope of prosecution. So there you go. Another Epstein friend bites the dust mysteriously. There he is hanging out with him on a plane, private plane.
Pardon the pun.
Yeah.
That's man.
Is.
That's like it's, like if G-Dog ends up making it through this, then I'll be shocked.
Yeah. I mean, well, I know her family's concerned about suicide watch for her, of course, but I don't know. I would love to know. I would love to know what happened, who all these people were associated with this. These different high-level members. Prince Andrew. Is one, but there's more. There's way more. I would love to know why Bill Gates was going there on a regular basis, Hula Hula says Trump flew on Epstein's plane and Epstein flew on Trump's planes. They lived 1 mile from each other. Oh, yeah. Of course there's more there.
Oh, yeah.
Come on. Of course there's more involved in this story.
Like my grandmother always...
I don't believe in coincidences.
No, like my grandmother always said, if you are in your house and you see a couple mice... Like you see mice, you have hundreds.
I've never heard that before. That's good.
Yeah.
I like that. It's disgusting, but it's true. All right. Do we have any super chats to get to before we get out of here?
We have. I think we addressed most of them already, though. They were all from Wayne's DIY Garage. Let's see.
Make sure you subscribe to the channel while he's looking those up. Subscribe. Just hit that subscribe button. And become a member of our channel. We do this show every day at 9 a.m. Eastern time.
Says, I'm a 24 journeyman, and this booming economy is keeping me at my parents' house.
Wow.
And the other ones we already went over. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks to all of you for subscribing. I do have another YouTube channel. All you need to do is go to YouTube and search the words Paranormal Post. Paranormal Post. And we publish over there. I've got really ramping things up and doing a lot more content over there. So youtube.com/paranormalpost, where we're covering what's going on with the UFO story right now out of Washington. We're going to be doing a video today on that specifically. But we just published a video of the top 13. We did this weekend because I love ghost stories as well. And these are true stories, and these are hotels that are actually still open that you can go and stay at if you'd like to. The 13 scariest hotel rooms in America. Come over and check out that story if you'd like that. Plus, if you like UFO stories and other information, you can come over to youtube.com/paranormalpost and check out the channel. All right, everyone. I know we went long today. Whoop-ah. We went long today, but we had a lot of stuff to get to today out of Ottawa and out of Ukraine.
Okay, let me read the results of the poll before we go here. So we got 20. Oh, it's still going up. Like about 2,500 votes, and supporting the ending of the blockade. 69% no, 20% yes, 11% not sure. 2,371 votes.
So not as cut and dry as I thought it would be, but still,
yeah. But again, I feel like I just really feel like people the same in the United States. I tend to be a little bit more forgiving to people that don't have the same opinion or even want to discuss things because they don't know that they're being propagandized on the mainstream media. They don't know. Like why would they? Why would they have any reason to doubt the people that have been telling them the news? Right. So it's like I try to be patient with people and talk to them. It's like, and sometimes you get them and sometimes you don't. And that's why I appreciate, this show. Even if I wasn't, producing it, I would be watching it and participating because it's not until you see another side and you get uncomfortable and you can kind of start, like seeing the narratives fall apart. Once you see one narrative fall apart, then you start to see a pattern. Once you see the pattern, then you become very aware of what's going on. But it just takes some time. It took me a while to get there. And I haven't like watched mainstream media now for like 15 years, other than like watching it on YouTube and, getting up to date on what they're talking about. But you just need to, once you start to see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah. You start to pull the threads,
Yeah.
Just ask Edward Snowden. Right.
Yeah. And can you imagine being in his position and starting to realize that? And like you probably question yourself a little bit at first, like, is this really what's going on? Like, and am I really going to come out and say this? Like, this is some serious stuff. Like you're in this place where you think your whole life, like, I want to work for the government. This is amazing. I want to, like, this country. I love this country, and you're this patriot. And then you get in there and it's like the whole don't meet your heroes.
Right. Yeah.
And then to figure that out, and then to come out and bring it out, like, just the guts that took alone. But it's never comfortable when you start to realize that your narrative and what you've been told, your life story is not what you thought it was. It's hard. It's hard to admit. It's hard to actually think, like, I've been lied to, and start to change what you're feeling. That's a hard thing to realize and a hard thing to do.
Yeah, Richard in our chat says, my golf buddies were shocked when I questioned the mainstream narrative. Yeah. It's just much more cozy and comfortable to wake up and flip on, like, Good Morning America and watch, those guys, like, cackling about, like, who Dwayne Johnson is dating this week or whatever, like, it's much better and much easier to live your life that way. To watch cooking segments on mainstream, on morning shows, and, like, how to make that pumpkin spice latte at home or whatever, and then go about your day, and how Putin's bad and we should all rally around, Washington, and that's it. If you live like that, and many millions of Americans do, they don't like to be told. They don't like to be uncomfortable. It's the truth.
Well, and that's what I've always equated, like, sports to. Sports to me is the equivalent of the gladiator ring back in the day. They've got football, baseball, basketball, all these seasons to keep you occupied worrying about that stuff, so that they can do these things behind our backs and get away with a lot of the stuff that they're getting away with because they keep us entertained.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
we just got a $20 super chat from Alejandro Gomez. Thank you so much.
Alejandro, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's just a super sticker, no question or anything.
Well, a few minutes ago, number 10 Downing Street, Boris Johnson's government says that Vladimir Putin's plan has already started. So now it's not even that it's like it's coming, it's already started. It's already in effect. That's breaking news. So Vladimir Putin's already dying,
Wonder when the propaganda film comes out.
Well, that's what I love too. It's like, now it's a matter of it's happening. It's like, it's already happening. Well, how do we confirm that it's already happening? You need to listen to us, the mainstream media. You need to listen to us, your government.
I wonder if they're going to have any A-list crisis actors.
Like Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. We'll catch you tomorrow right here, same time, 9 a.m. Eastern time. We'll see you. Bye, everyone.